These rocky shores where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, it's these rocky shores, it's where I long to be. Yes, it's these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Whenever I leave here, it hurts me so, with tears in my eyes. Oh, I hate to go. There ain't no work, and the kids need new clothes. The bills need paying, so off I must go.
These rocky shores, where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores, it's where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they're home to me.
I think to myself, where did it all go? The life I once had on the ocean's mighty road. With tears in my eyes and my head in my hands, away from my family, I hope they understand.
That is these rocky shores, where I call home, it's where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores, where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Good evening and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include Burgeo Action Committee meet with Bellberry and Ridge Anstey in Corner Brook, the nurses strike, Lioness win awards. These stories plus community events, the BBS Playbill, After the Rack and more coming up after this.
Just look at her. What a difference. Until a few months ago, we thought kidney dialysis was her only chance. But then a kidney donor was found. Someone took the time to sign a donor card and tell their family their wishes. Please discuss organ donation with your family and sign a donor card today. You'll give someone like Michelle a second chance.
This message was brought to you by the Kidney Foundation of Canada and your local station.
On Monday of this week, we traveled to Corner Brook with the Burgeo Action Committee. After the meeting, we had an opportunity to speak with Bellberry of Seafreeze and Ridge Anstey of the FFAW. We also spoke to members of the Burgeo Action Committee. Mr. Berry, can you tell us what the nature of your meeting was for today?
Well, we basically had a follow-up meeting here today to discuss where we were in terms of looking for crab quota for Burgeo, for the plant in Burgeo. And I guess Ridge Anstey was here to explain to us the most recent meetings he's had and where he thinks the allocations are going to come down. And I guess the bottom line on the information that he gave us, and it's what I've been hearing as well, that there is going to be some allocation provided that supposedly would be able to be designated to Burgeo. But the allocation that we were hoping to get, which was around a couple of thousand tons, It's going to be way short of that. And nobody seems to know what the number is yet. But I think that the approach that seems to be the direction to take now is that the government won't issue a sufficient amount of quota outside the zone until they get some more experimental work done. So I think what the direction is to use the interim allocation to do experimental work in the offshore and try and provide the scientists in DFO enough information very early in the year, within the next, like April, May month, and hopefully get an additional allocation after that. That's kind of the discussion amongst that we've had amongst the whole group here today. And I really don't think there's much of an alternative, because what it comes down to is the science branch in DFO are not convinced, because there has been only a limited fishery outside of 200 miles long. They're not convinced as to the exact size of the crab resource. And before they'll allocate any higher numbers that would see Burgeo get a significant amount of crab, they want more experimental work done. So I guess it's a little bit of a catch-22.
Okay, so what does that mean for you then and our Burgeo fish plant?
Well, what it means for me is I guess I'm stuck in the same position, I guess, as anybody would, waiting for information, trying to know that I've got enough resource available to operate the plant. And the decisions have certainly not been made by DFO yet that would be the case. But I'm not discouraged by it. I guess I'm a little bit frustrated by it that they're taking so long to make these decisions. But I'm encouraged by the fact that they are going to make an interim allocation made to the offshore for experimental work outside of 200. And I believe that there's enough support in the system that if we can demonstrate the level of crab catching that is out there in the different zones that they've allocated, if we can demonstrate the catch rates out there are stable, I do believe that they will allocate a sufficient enough resource for Burgeo to make the plant work. So I'm not pessimistic about it, but I'm frustrated in terms of, this creates another several month delay. But I do hope and think that it'll be successful.
So we were led to believe that the crab quota was going to come down towards the end of March. Mm-hmm. Is that still?
There is a quota. The quota will come down towards the end of March, but the amount that we hoped would be allocated for Burgeo is not going to happen. There's going to be a small amount allocated to Chest Crib's offshore crab group to do an experimental fishery in the different areas outside of 200. And then the results of that will be the results that DFO will use to finally determine what the offshore crab quota will be, which I'm told that if the fishery is reasonable and stable and the catch rates are good in April and May, then they may be prepared to make even a mid-year experimental or readjustment of the quota after that. So I guess it's a frustrating part of dealing with government to take these types of decisions.
So in other words, we're still playing the waiting game.
We're still playing the waiting game.
And
and there seems to be no way around it.
Yeah. So for example, if the quota comes down in April or May and it is a sufficient quota for you to start up the plant, how long will it take you then to?
Well, it'll take the same thing as I indicated last year. There's 4 months' work to get the plant ready to process.
So we're still talking late in the year then.
Yeah.
Yeah. A town of Burgeo is very frustrated. A lot of people don't hold out very much hope. Is there anything that you can say to tell people probably to hang on a little while, or?
I can certainly understand the level of frustration that the people feel in this process. But I know that anybody who's dealt with government, or especially with DFO, it's a frustrating process dealing with them, because the different levels of the bureaucracy, especially science branch and the bureaucrats themselves, they want to be certain in their own mind before they make decisions on resource allocation. And I guess to some degree you can understand that. But I certainly can understand the level of frustration of the people in Burgeo that are really waiting and having their lives on hold so that they know that they've got something secure or something that can happen. And the only thing that I can tell you is I do believe that there is enough support from enough people that if we can demonstrate the level of crab outside of 200, which we should be able to do during the next 60 days, if we can demonstrate it, I do believe that allocations will remain available. The frustrating part is just this further delay and further time frame. But you know, and if hope is what you need, I mean that's the best hope I can give anyone. I believe that I certainly believe that the resources out there. I think most people in the crab industry are quite confident in the resources out there. And so, you know, it's simply a matter of the testing time and the experimental time, so that we can convince the bureaucracy and the science branch that, you know, certain quotas should be made available, so that we can make the plant viable again.
So, like we said before, is waiting game, and we'll just have to wait and see if the quotas comes down?
Unfortunately, it is a waiting game for now.
Okay, thank you very much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
What would the difference be out there if we start taking that out?
Mr. Anstey, can you tell us your feelings on today's meeting?
Well, this has been a very difficult process. You know, we've been working hard at this for a very long time, and you know, it's not easy. I knew it wasn't easy from the time that we started this. And really, the difficult issue for us is to establish in the minds of the federal government that there's a sufficient quota out there to support Burgeo and Ramia. At the moment, we haven't been able to get to that point. However, we haven't given up either. We're far from being out of this thing. We expect the crab plan to come down around the end of March, first day or so of April. And the plan right now is that to use some of the fish allocated to the Trawlermen's Cooperative to do some test fishing in the areas where we're trying to establish a sufficient quota for Burgeo and Ramia. I would expect that that'll proceed through April and part of May. And then if we can make our case properly, I think we have a very good chance at having a successful conclusion. People should understand this is very difficult, and I know it's hard on the people in Burgeo, especially. This is the Burgeo station, it's been a long time, and there's been a lot of disappointments. And I can only tell them I haven't given up on Burgeo. I'm not about to. This has proven to be extremely difficult, and I knew it would be. We're still, you know, we have a plan. We have to wait and see how that turns out. And hopefully for the community, we'll collectively work hard at making sure at the end of the day that this community has a future. So it hasn't been easy, but we haven't given up. We're not about to give up. And we have to wait and see what the next phase will bring, and that's to get the exploratory fishing behind us. Hopefully have a decent result. We'll know one way or another relatively quickly towards the end of April. What I can't change is the fact that the scientists are saying that we have to do more and we have to show more evidence. So we're going to try and do that. And then hopefully if we're successful, we can bring this thing to a proper conclusion. So for the people of Burgeo, I can only say I haven't given up on you. Don't give up on this community yet, and we've still got a ways to go.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. We are there in the council chambers, the Burgeo Action Committee. We have just returned from Corner Brook from a meeting with Bellberry and Ridge Anstey, and each member would like to give their personal input on how the meeting went. And we'll start with our mayor, Mayor Ann. How do you feel the meeting went today, sir?
Well, I can honestly say, you know, this is not the news that I expected to bring back. The last time that George Reed and myself came on television and gave you the situation after we returned from St. John's, I really did think I would be coming back with everything secured and our plant would be on the move, but that's not going to happen. There was quota came down, but there certainly wasn't enough. I mean, the thing is not finalized, but there's always a grapevine and a rumor mill, and it's certainly, I guess, quite clear that there will not be enough crab to reactivate the Burgeo and Ramia plant at this time. And as you heard Mr. Anstey say, that what quota is coming down is going to be fished almost immediately to prove the abundance of crab to the scientists. And then we get into the next fishery, and I don't know if I'm optimistic or not, but all I know is that this is the only option that's open to us. And I don't see what chance we got other than to take it, because Anstey is fresh out of high ideas, and I know that I'm fresh out. So that's about it. You know, I feel that we're going to have to hang in there and see this thing through. And if there's people that feel differently, if they want to have a chance to reevaluate this committee, or my leadership, or whatever, then all I can ask is to place a call to the town council office, and if they want the committee to set up a public forum whereby they can express their views, and if they want to give us some different direction to go in, then for myself, I'm certainly open to suggestion, and that's about all I can say at this time.
In your opinion, is Mr. Barry still working with the committee?
In my opinion, I can say this, that I think Ridge Anstey is working hard. I think Bill Barry is there. I certainly haven't given me any indication that he's not there set and ready to go. But he's just not going to throw his money in until he can see something coming out, and I don't think that regardless of what operator you get, if you get an operator that's going to throw in money that he hasn't got any guarantees of getting anything out, well, then he's a very poor operator. And we've seen what happened in Ramia when an operator did that last year. It didn't work. So any operator that would do that, I wouldn't have any confidence in anyway. And I have got to say that at this time, I've got full confidence in Bill Barry. But until the government deliver the goods to him, now if they deliver the goods to Barry, and he's reluctant to do anything, by all means, it's time to go look for someone else. But at the present time, no, I certainly can't fault Mr. Barry one little bit.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Gerald McDonald. Can you tell us about your intake on the meeting, sir?
Well, I guess probably my personal opinion on the meeting today was, I guess, a little frustrated because we were expecting a little more at this time. Although the quota for 99 has not been announced yet, but we felt with inside information we would have a secure amount of quota to carry out of our plans. I was sort of disappointed in that. Now, as Alistair said, the problem lies with DFO scientists. They feel they want more studies done on this stock to reassist and see how much fish is in that area before they announce any more quotas. So this has got to be done, and I'm confident that it can be done in a short period of time. The word we're getting within a month. So if we can prove to the scientists those stocks can sustain a larger quota, then I'll be optimistic that we will be going somewhere.
And are you of the same opinion as Mayor Ann that Mr. Barry is with the committee?
Most definitely, and Mr. Barry will certainly state that himself. He's just waiting for the quota, and once the quota is approved, that he's ready to go to work.
Thank you. Robert Sims, how about your intake on the meeting, Mr. Sims?
Well, Marie, I guess that you can only go through what's already been said from Mayor Ann and Gerald, because we were into the same room, and we all, I'm sure, got the same conclusion from what happened at the meeting, that everybody is serious. I mean, Bill Barry is certainly serious. We can take him for his word, only take him for his word, that he's saying he's got the 100% of intent of coming into Virgil as soon as he receives something from the government in regards to quota. And that right now, you know, there's no way in the world can we blame Bill Barry for what's happening right now. The only one we can look at is that there was not enough fish in the quota or in the crab that's going to be brought down for the Hopeness plant, because that man has got to make an investment to make renovations in there for the crab. And again, I mean, nobody, business-wise, is going to spend money if they got nothing to put through there. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, as we are being told, that if it proves out in the exploratory fishery that there's crab there, and they can prove to the scientists, and we can get it, that he'll be in there and open our plant. And I feel most certain that if we can hang in there, that we will see something happen.
And are you of the same opinion that Mr. Barry is working with the committee?
Most certain, as I have already stated, that he is there 100%.
Thank you. Mr. Kendall, your intake on the meeting, sir.
Well, I guess my intake on to Marie is much similar to what the mayor and Jerome and Robert this is not, I don't think right now this is an issue of getting an operator to open our plant. I think we've got an operator to open our plant. I think he's on side with the committee. I also think that the union is very much on side, that Ridge actually has put a lot of work into this. Right now, the old problem is obtaining a sufficient quota of crab that would see an operator come in, and I don't care what operator it is. If he can't get a quota of crab, there's no one going to come in and open our plant. So the issue now, I guess, is with DFO, and we're sort of back in a corner, I guess, in one sense. There's no way around it. We've got to wait until this experimental fishery is done, and that we can prove to the federal bureaucrats that there's sufficient quota out there to sustain those two fish plants, I guess, here in Burgeo and Granby. My biggest concern, of course, is Burgeo, but it seems like they want some regional quotas rather than community quotas, and I guess we're looking at it in a region sense, and maybe we should. But anyway, I don't see any other route to go, and I know that it's been very disappointing and very frustrating, and I'm sure that it got to be for the people of Burgeo. But I've got to say in all honesty that we're all on side in this committee with the union and with the company, Seafreeze. We've done everything that we can possibly do at this time, and I guess we've got to play the waiting game for another month or a month and a half, whatever the case may be.
Thank you, sir. Next we have Owen Marsden. Owen?
Well, like everybody else did, we wish we could bring back more. When you get involved with these things, you always want to make a difference. And we wanted to come back and stick our heads at one and say we accomplished what we set out to do. Well, that's simply not there. We can only tell you the truth. We can only tell you what we know. And right now we know we have an operator there, and thank God we don't have to go through the process of looking for another operator. We have a committee in place that's doing the best it can do. We've got the union there, in particular Ridge Anstey, who's doing the best that he can do at this point. We did get some bad news, I guess, today, but there it is. So what we do is we go on with some other strategy. We look at going back to St. John's, go back to Brian Tobin, go back to whoever, and make sure they're still on site. We lobby the federal government. We do whatever we need to do to make sure that we eventually do end up with a quota for Burgeo. And hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later, but that's all anybody can do that I see at this point is to continue to fight.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Reed, George Reed. Mr. Reed?
Yes, Marie, same what the rest of the people said, and of course I have to more or less apologize for my optimism the last time I was interviewed about this issue, because I was led to believe in the meeting in St. John's, and so was everyone on the committee, that the quota for Burgeo and Ramley was a done deal. And we really just had to wait until mid-March or end of March. Now, the quota, you're going to hear within a few days or the end of the month that the quota was increased, and it was increased substantially. The quota got increased for crab 140%. In other words, last year was 2,500 tons, and this year got increased by 3,500 tons, which gives you 6,000 tons of crab. Now, out of that increase, we did not get what we were promised. Now, we cannot find out why we didn't get it. Can't find out who made the decisions not to include Burgeo and Ramia as the major players in that new quota. So what we've been told now by Mr. Anstey, and you'll see his interview, is that they had to do more research out past the 200-mile limit to see if there is enough crab out there so that they can give a test fishery for that area. And he's felt confident that what they're going to come up with, this test fishery, will be given to Burgeo and Ramia. I'm kind of optimistic, but not the same as I was at the last meeting. I think we have a chance, but again, it's going to be a waiting game, and there's very little we can do. Perhaps yourself, though, in the meantime, that you do have two politicians. You got a federal politician, and you got a provincial politician, of course, you got your premier. And there's no reason why every one of you can't phone or wire or email or do whatever you can to keep these people busy with your information and your problem. And I think if you did that, probably that will help too in the long run. It seems like that Rich was talking about, hopefully within a week or so, there'll be another meeting with politicians in St. John's.
Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen.
I'd like to just make another statement there, Marie. With regard to operator and so on, the new potential operator for Ramia was at that meeting today also. And if you're talking about our operator, that potential operator is in the same mindset as Bill Barry is. If this comes through, he's ready to open Ramia. And that's exactly the same as Mr. Barry is. So, you know, we can move the problem, say it's just the operator, one thing or the other, but Ramia's running into their third or fourth operator. And this one here now, he's in the same mindset as Bill Barry. If the resource is allocated to Ramia, he's ready to move in. And Bill Barry, if it's allocated to Bill Barry, he's ready to move in. So, you know, until the allocation has been made, and one of these operators says they're not going one place or another, I don't know what the communities can do to fault them. So that's all that I would say.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. On Wednesday, March the 24th, the Newfoundland and Labrador Nurses Union officially went on strike. We spoke to Glenda Ricketts, the president, and Karen Sims, the vice president of the local branch number 12. Glenda, what do you consider the main issues of this strike?
The main issues of the strike, as you can see on our picket signs, we need fair pay for our work, our responsibilities that we do. We are frontline workers. We deal with emergencies as they come in. And, of course, more nurses in order to provide safety for our patients, for our workload that we have as nurses province-wide. We need more nurses to be delivering the care that is needed. And as well, permanent jobs. There's an issue with the casual workers. There's no incentive for us to stay. And we just need more permanent jobs to add some security to our lives, give us incentive to stay. Our issues are there.
How do you think that this strike is going to affect the public?
It is going to affect the public. Needless to say, the clinics are open for emergencies only. There is going to be a sit back there, but I do stress to the public that the nurses are there for emergencies. The inpatients are still going to be getting the same care as what they have in this area. Another thing as well, that we are fighting for more nurses to provide better care. In larger centres, that they aren't able to provide the quality care that we feel is needed. So needless to say, in the larger centres that there will be an obvious difference in the care given, because that is one of our issues, that there aren't enough nurses to provide the care, and with the strike, well, we're going to be more short-staffed. But
yeah, and all elective surgeries have been cancelled, and for this site, what we've said is that we won't be doing any prescriptions and giving out any telephone advice with regards to test results and that sort of thing, are some of the things that as nurses we won't be doing. It's not considered essential work. But we're not stopping any patients from coming. Feel free, if you need access to the hospital, feel free to cross our picket line. We're not here to restrict your access to the health care that's here.
Will it affect the residents at the hospital in any form at all?
Minimally. There's still 3 LPNs on days and 2 on nights. The nurse, right now, for the residential care is mostly responsibility of the LPNs, not the nurses. We're mostly just doing medications with the residents.
Okay. Well, you've already asked one question I asked was, how do you feel about the public crossing your picket line? And you already...
Quite comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
No problems at all.
How long are you expecting the strike to last?
We have no idea, but we're just hoping it's going to be just a few days.
Hopefully 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Have you got any workers declared as essential workers?
Yes, there's 4 essential workers declared. And
okay, there's 4 essential workers declared for the inpatient area. The 2 public health nurses are deemed essential, and as well as a nurse practitioner over in Ramya is deemed essential.
Okay. How many nurses do we have on staff here at our hospital?
On staff for the inpatients, we have 6 full-time nurses as well as 2 casual nurses. That's for a calling basis. And we have 1 full-time public health nurse for Burgeo. And for Ramya, we have a full-time public health nurse and a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
So 11 in total.
Is there anything that you would like to say to the public to ask for support?
Definitely, we need your support to keep us motivated, keep us out here. The patients are the bottom line while we're here. So just honk your horn for support as you pass by.
Glenda, how many nurses will be in the hospital at one given time?
Usually there's 2 on days and 1 on nights, but at the present now there will be 1 nurse on days and 1 on nights.
Okay, would this affect, for example, if an ambulance got to go to Cornerbrook, or what's the term that you use for that?
Escorts.
Escorts, yeah.
If it's deemed, they will try to get the LPNs, the nursing assistants, to go if necessary. If it is necessary for a nurse to go, actually, the doctor will be going instead.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
The nurses of local branch number 12 would like to thank the public for their support, especially those who brought them coffee, cakes, and cookies and helped to build a shelter for them while they have picket line duty. Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up in just a moment.
The Government of Canada has good news for seniors. Now it's easier to renew the Guaranteed Income Supplement or the Spouse's Allowance. Most pensioners will have their benefits renewed automatically by filing an income tax return. We recently sent you a letter about this. If you haven't received it, please call Human Resources Development Canada free of charge at 1-800-277-9914.
On Wednesday of this week, we spoke to 2 members of the Lioness Club who recently won awards for their club. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today in our studios we have 2 members of our Lioness Club, Doris Pink and Grace Abbott. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Marie.
We understand that your Lioness Club won some award. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, actually we won 3 awards total. We won the award for Best Club in District 41S1, and Grace won the Best Secretary Award, and I won the Best President Award.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So how did that come to be?
Mostly because Grace is good reporting, I think. Grace, of course, is past Secretary, and I'm past President. And actually the awards were given out in October of this year, because they were last year's awards. And they were given out in October, but at the DGO, which is the District Governor's meeting, an organizational meeting. But they were held in central Newfoundland, in I don't know, Botwood or Grand Falls. And so there was nobody from our club at the meetings. And of course, our district president is Margaret Curtis, and district secretary was Joan Ball, and of course it's from Cornerbrook now. But because our club won all the awards, they didn't make the announcement at the DGO because there was nobody there from our club. So they saved it as a surprise. It wasn't printed in the newsletter or anything. And of course, I guess in the fall we sort of thought, I wonder who won the awards, but it didn't come out in the newsletter, and we just forgot all about it. So until she came out to the meeting.
Yeah.
So Joan came out?
Joan and Margaret.
It was the first chance, like they had a chance to get out here. So they kept everything on the wraps until they could make the presentation in person.
Oh, very well. I guess you were quite surprised.
Well, they kept it under wraps until Grace came to the meeting. Grace always comes late. And everybody else had come up and come into the meeting and sat down and said hello to Joan and Margaret. Grace comes in and says, "What's that trophy out on the bridge in the garbage bag?" So I jumped up and run out, and I was like, they've been doing some repair work at the community center, so I thought it was some of our trophies that the Lions get there to throw them out or something. So I run down on the bridge to see, and here's Margaret and Joan saying, "Come in and start the meeting." So,
Forget the trophy, sit down.
Yeah, it was funny.
So I guess everybody from your club was quite pleased.
Oh yes, it was really like, actually we've got a very strong Lioness club anyway. Like, we do a lot of community work more than, like, say, national, international work. We're like, well, like covering from BBS, that we're involved in a lot of activities and stuff. And it's always nice to get recognition, I think. And that's what it is. The best club award and the best secretary and the best president, they're all from best club. There's recognition of all the women in the club who have been doing good work over the years. So
and because of all the work that you've been doing, your name didn't go in a hat, of course, or something.
No, it's points.
Yes, it's awarded on the basis of points. The district president, I guess, makes up a rating list, and so every time you do a certain activity or you fulfill one of her qualifications, you get X number of points.
Oh, okay.
And throughout the year, I guess we accumulated the most points.
So you're not like in September, okay, when you start up your club, you don't sit down as a club and say, well, we're going to try to get this many points.
No.
It's just
no, it's just like
natural progression. You just do your thing, and if your points add up, you're lucky enough.
Well, I think there's some discretion there as well. Like we had a couple of special projects on the go last year, and I don't know if we, got extra credit for.
Yeah, we might have.
Okay.
Those special projects. I'm not sure, but.
But we do send in, Grace was the secretary, so we send in quarterly reports, like every 4 months.
Yeah.
And so it shows the attendance at the meetings and the projects we've been involved in and what we've contributed to and so on. And so of course that's what they use to keep their stats updated, but we don't get any feedback on that.
No.
We don't ever know, if at mid-year we're in second place or anything like that. So there's not a competition as such. It's just like you say, it's just
yeah, after it's all said and done, well, this is a little recognition.
Yeah.
For the club that did probably the most volunteer
Yes,
work or charity work or whatever.
Combination of both, I think. And generally hating the well-being of people in your community and your country and internationally. There are some national, international things that we contribute to, the eyeglasses and the canine vision dog and stuff like that, right? So that's like Lions programs, Lions Lioness programs. So we contribute to that, and that adds up. But a lot of the stuff is what we do around, and a lot of it is. And I say, I'm not kidding when I say a lot of the credit goes to Grace, because at the district level, they don't know what we're doing if we don't report it, right? And that's what happens in a lot of clubs. And Grace has done an excellent job. This is her second year as secretary, but she has done an excellent job of filling out all the forms and getting them in on time and keeping them accurate, so that people at the district level do know, what it is we're doing, right?
Oh, very good. So did you guys, were you presented with a plaque or trophy of some kind?
Yeah.
Yes.
We got the big trophy that we get to keep for the club until October, till we send it back, say next year, at the beginning of next year. And we got a small plaque that stays in our own club, and we got individual awards as well.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate both of you and your club on a job well done.
Yes, it is. But it was a really good year.
Yes. Well, congratulations, and thanks for telling us about it.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Members of the Lioness Club would like to thank the community for their support they have shown over the years. Without the community's help, winning these awards would not have been possible. In May of 1998, members of the Burgeo Volunteer Fire Department traveled to the Trans-Canada Highway to make a presentation to Jesse's Journey, a father's tribute, on behalf of the town of Burgeo. The fire department has received a letter from John Davison thanking the community for their $500 donation and for playing a key role in making John's and Jesse's dream of establishing the Jesse Davison Endowment Fund a reality. This donation will go towards research to find cures for genetic diseases including muscular dystrophy, ALS, cystic fibrosis, and breast cancer. The letter also states that Mr. Davison has also successfully walked 8,272 kilometers across Canada. The letter goes on to say that without the support of thousands of service clubs, church groups, and organizations, and friends like this journey would not have been possible. Now over to Councillor Barbara Barter with the Council report.
Good evening. A regular Council meeting was held March 17th, 1999. The following items were discussed. A meeting was held with MHA Kelvin Parsons regarding the proposed community education complex, and it was generally agreed that it would still go ahead as a partnership. A person was in town and looked at the proposed sites. Council has applied for capital funding for an arena, but to date hasn't heard anything. The town has again registered for the Tidy Towns program. This is being looked after by the town manager, and everything is starting to fall into place. Everyone will be asked to get involved and cooperate in getting our town clean and tidy. Councillor Cyril Warren has been appointed as the town's representative on the Zone 9 Red Board. Official guidelines have been drawn up for the awarding of the Calder Scholarship. This scholarship is awarded yearly to a person who is furthering their education in the field of health care. Anyone wishing to apply for this scholarship can pick up an application at the Town Council office. Municipal Awareness Day will be held on May 17th. There will be more information on this when it becomes available. As everyone knows, the walkway leading to the lookout on Maiden T Hill was damaged during a recent windstorm. Between the BDDB and Council, this walkway will be repaired and put back into place. Residents are asked to be careful when they're in that area due to the dangers of part of the steps not being there. We also ask that you leave any boards or parts of the boards that are blown down be left there so that it can be used to help do the repairs. Thank you very much and good evening.
Stay with us for Off the Rack, the community events, and the BBS Playbill, all after this.
In a scene from prehistory, still fjords run deep, hemmed in by giant granite walls, carved by volcanoes, tectonic upheaval. 20 times as old as the Rockies. Our park.
Off the Rack. This week as we scanned our tape rack, we came across a tape of when the Cape Nova went to the Grand Banks to patrol the 200-mile limit for foreign draggers that were overfishing. Let's look back to March 1992.
And, as scheduled, at 6 o'clock, the Cape Nova pulled away from the fish plant wharf.
Brass Playbill. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for a rebroadcast of Pansy's Garden. There is no bingo scheduled for Wednesday, March 31st. On Thursday, April the 1st, we will have a video entitled Responsible Fishing in Canada from the DFO. Join Pansy and the gang for 2 stories, a craft, and lots of fun on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on Pansy's Garden. Next week after the news program, we will have our Newfie bandwagon. And I'll be here again next week for This Week in Review. For This Week in Review, I'm Marie Rose. Good night.